Hello, everyone. This is BJ at Lunch. It's Monday, 14th October. And as every week, we are preparing for you some summary of the juiciest bits of week which just passed. And James, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It seems like we're seeing each other a bit too often lately. We've been doing bi-weekly episodes, which it's exciting, but means I get to see you more.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, I'm seeing you more often than my own family.
Yeah.
Because right now we're not doing only BJ at lunch, but also the BJ at brunch.
Yes. So if you do want to check out last week's episode, it is on YouTube and it will be on the radio as well, where we discuss the rise of the far right in Europe. So check it out, and we'll have another one next week on the first 100 days of the Labour Party government. Have a look.
Yeah, that's exciting, isn't it? Because doing 2 episodes a week on one hand is a lot of work, but on the other hand, we are it's exciting.
It is.
Because there are 2 formats. Because the BJ at lunch is great, but it's very much, you cannot go too deep because of the concept of that. And then the deep BJ at brunch is you can really...
It's a bit more intense, the deep BJ. A little bit more intense.
Yeah, you can really close your eyes and go for the journey. Okay, since it's BJ at lunch, like every Monday, we should be sweet, short, and simple, but informative at the same time. So let's crack on with the first topic. What is going to be?
Let's do it. It's going to be looking at the Tories again. One of Blaze's favorite topics.
I absolutely love it. Yes.
The reason why we want to bring it up again this week is because we're down to the final 2 candidates for the Tory leadership. We're now down to Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch, which means that James Cleverly has now been kicked out. Now, it's a bit funny how this happened, why he's been kicked out. This is all due to hubris. So he was probably the most popular candidate, even it's a bit more probably outside of the Tory membership and MPs. But because he was so confident of winning, he borrowed his votes to the candidate he wanted to compete against in the final 2. And therefore he lost votes and lost the leadership contest.
Yeah, but wait, hold on. What do you mean he borrow his votes? How does it work in practice? Are votes something you can borrow? Hey, can I get a kilo of votes? I'm going to pay tomorrow.
So up to now, it's been down to the MPs to decide the final 2 candidates from the original 6. So obviously MPs are all quite friends with each other and they were trying to form like little coalitions. So when he was going to the MPs, his supporters, he was saying, vote for Jenrick, at least I can compete against him. And then next round, just vote for me. But again, hubris, he lost it due to that.
Okay, so it backfired him.
It really backfired. So now we're down to Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch, which represented the more right-wing part of the Conservative Party. In theory, when it comes to policies and what they want to do with the country, they're very similar. The only difference is maybe that Robert Jenrick is a bit more, I would say, composed and more traditional politician, whilst Kemi Badenoch is a bit more, not afraid to speak her mind, anti-woke, culture warrior, that kind of character. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting election. At this point, it will all fall down to personality. Who the membership, because now it goes to the memberships rather than the MPs, who they think will be better at tackling Keir Starmer during PMQs or as an opposition leader.
Okay, so there are 2 questions which I would like to ask here. First, if any of them is capable of challenging Keir Starmer, and the second, who has the personality of your preference, James?
Oh, okay. So this is the shit sandwich and a giant douche. South Park reference. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think Robert Jenrick is probably the most traditional Tory, I would say. So maybe I'm more prone personality-wise to go that way. However, on the flip side, just because, I don't know if you've noticed, listeners, but I'm not really a big fan of the Tories. maybe Kemi Badenoch would be an interesting person to have on the right, even though it will flip everything to the right, even its supporters. So, I don't know. You win some, you lose some.
You're being very diplomatic, but when you're saying that he gonna be the most traditional, is it good? Because what we can see is traditional Tory, after ruling for 14 years, they lost their rule. So the question is if being traditional is actually a good choice for them, or maybe they're supposed to, flip it right now.
So it's interesting because up to now, with all the candidates, there was only a few that actually acknowledged that something needed to change. The one who actually did say it was said that was James Cleverly, who during the Tory party conference, he started his speech by saying, "I'm sorry that we lost this much." And secondly, which is I found it quite funny, he said the whole point of his speech was, "Let's try and be more normal," which is, that's a good descriptor for the Tory party. But yeah, Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch, as for now, seems to be very much continuity, as in to what Rishi Sunak was doing, even though Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch actually, they're both very strong on immigration, as in they want to place a cap and not have immigrants coming from all over the place. It's very much continuity leadership, even though slightly tilted to the right.
Okay, so we're gonna see how it goes. When we will know who won, who is the new leader? Do we know the date?
So voting is happening at the moment. If the Tory members are voting throughout the whole month, it's an online ballot. But it will be the 2nd of November that we will know the results.
Okay, can it be a deuce? Can it be a little, extra time?
Yeah, so it'll be down to the last vote. If it does come to even, I'm happy to contribute and give my opinion and vote for them.
Okay. So moving forward, I think there is one cherry on the top in that topic before we're gonna move to the last one.
Before we move on from the Tories, we've got the grand return of Boris. Boris has released a book called Unleashed. It's basically his diary, his journals from when he was Prime Minister. Some people call it fiction, what he published. Others, his supporters say it's actually what happened. It included many interesting anecdotes, such as at the beginning of the pandemic, he had these plans of invading the Netherlands to steal the vaccines and tests.
That's a hell of a plan.
It's a plan.
But hold on, because I also want to say that. So he wrote his diary, and it's sort of autobiography of these times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he called it Unleashed.
Unleashed. Yeah. And also another interesting point, and this is a bit more political, is that during the COVID inquiry, which basically studied what happened during Partygate and during the COVID period during the pandemic, his most popular answer was, "I do not recall." And yet, in his memoirs, it's all there. So did he lie again? Maybe. And actually, speaking of lying, in his book, he says that the biggest thing he regrets is apologizing over what he did during his premiership, especially during the pandemic. And he apologized in the House of Commons. So basically, he's lied again in the House of Commons.
But wait, hold on. So the famous apologies that he overestimated his tactic to how to tackle the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he regrets that.
He does, yeah, because he thinks he did a good job.
So wait, so hold on. So he regrets that, but he doesn't regret that he was snorting coke with his mates when everyone was heavily in lockdown.
Allegedly. We don't have a team of lawyers yet, so allegedly he snorted cocaine, but it didn't happen. He didn't do that.
Of course. But I'm just thinking, do you think that that's obviously I have absolutely no knowledge to know that. But I'm just thinking, can they actually? No one. I don't think anyone will because it's not too much to win anymore. But based on that book, can they actually sue him for? Oh, so you actually remember? So now you're responsible for your actions and stuff.
That might be something that might be looked at because it's yeah. I mean, as you said he didn't recall, therefore maybe he lied in front of an inquiry. So maybe it is something to look like. But before we move on from Boris, I know I did not like him when he was prime minister, but since he's been doing these media rounds on TV, I missed his charm. He was talking about Keir Starmer, and he was talking about all those scandals of the free gifts with Lord Ali, etc. And one of the gifts that Keir Starmer had was his glasses. And Boris said, "Oh, I don't understand why he's still wearing these glasses. It's probably because he can't see the mess he's making." Boris is back.
Boris is back and in his top shape. So we're moving forward, and the next topic will be
Looking across the pond, looking at the Florida, the Hurricane Milton.
yeah. So Hurricane Milton. So it wasn't only last week because it's already been dragging for some time. But basically, we need to summarize it right now as the worst already passed the Florida, which has been harmed the most out of all. And let's do the quick summary. So, guys, just to let you know, the Hurricane Milton was actually the second hurricane which hit the shore. The first hurricane was Helene, and Helene killed 17 people. But because Milton hit less than 2 weeks after and killed 37 people, not many people are actually talking about the Helene. But we have to see that that already happened in the past. So Hurricane Katrina, which killed 1,300 people, will happen exactly in the same pattern. So first was a little bit smaller hurricane, to then the main one hit the shore. Now, the harm which it caused is massive because it's not also a personal tragedy, but it's also showing that the U.S. state is not really prepared to prevent it, because we can see the cycles of this coming back and hitting and, destroying everything what people built after the last hurricane again. Biden said that the estimated losses are quoted for $50 billion, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, expensive.
It's expensive, and yeah, and basically what we are saying is that we have millions of people without electricity, and the 32% of the fuel stations have no diesel. So it's a lot of roads are completely covered or destroyed and stuff. It has been estimated that in a scale of 5 degrees of how strong this hurricane can be, that has been judged by overall at 3 out of 5. But there were moments when there was 5. And there are people who are saying, "Oh, it was actually similarly strong to Katrina," but of course there is a narrative of media who are on the government side saying, "Oh, but the government learned the lesson," and that's why it's been only 50 people together, a little bit more than that, instead of 1,300. Look what job with that. While actually a lot of journalists are saying, no, we're just lucky. It's just coincident that not that many people died. So what do you think? Do you have something to say about it?
I do, yes, and this is more about the political side of this, because so obviously there was that amount of damage in money, but also some lives lost. I think the estimate I saw last was something like 30 or 40, which some would argue, and I'm one of these, that some of these deaths could have been prevented However, there were certain people, mostly on the Republican side, that were spreading some conspiracy theories about this. In particular, I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who posted a picture of the path that Hurricane Milton was going to take, superposed with the Florida electoral map. And it sort of showed that all the counties that were going to vote red, so Republican, were the one was on the path of Milton. Basically saying, oh yes, just makes you think, doesn't it? And can I just say, the government can control the weather, and so stay at home because it's all just a deterrent, so you don't go vote in November. So people, and I believe it was the mayor of Tampa, or one of the big cities that Milton hit, also said, it's okay if you stay home. You don't need to evacuate because it's all a deterrent done by the Democrats, done by the government, so you don't go out and vote.
Well, obviously, I mean, like, it's not funny because a lot of people experience massive tragedy and lost everything what they have in life. But the theory that some people are throwing artificial hurricanes just to affect the elections, I think they should start writing scripts, those people who are writing those newses.
Absolutely. And one thing to say is, like, if the government was able to create hurricanes, why would they? As we said, it was about 40 billion expenses. It's a very 50. It's a very expensive hurricane. Apart from the money to create this hurricane, it's expensive to fix it. But also, one thing to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was the one that during the California wildfires, which hit in 2019-2020, she said it was the Jewish space lasers satellites that was focusing heat on California to create these wildflowers. So maybe she's got an issue with weather in general.
But maybe she has an issue with common sense. Does she also think that if the weather is clear, you can see pyramids from US because Earth is flat? Is this also the same case?
No, because you've got the airplane chemical trails that cover it up. Of course.
Of course. Okay, cool. So we're sending best wishes to all the people who were touched by the hurricanes, and it's a massive tragedy. But also, I just want to say that if you know how to create artificial hurricanes, please let me know, because that's awesome skill.
Yeah. Release it to WikiLeaks. I'm sure they'll be interested.
Okay, so next thing is this is my favorite news of today. And I just want to say that if you guys thinking that we are approaching Halloween and there is a pumpkin season, I have to bring the sad news. It's already Christmas, and it's definitely Christmas in Venezuela, because Christmas has been moved to 1st October. And James, do you have something to say about that?
Yes, well, this was all from President Maduro. Was the president of Venezuela, who said even though the October and autumn is here, it feels like Christmas already, doesn't it? And basically, in a way of panem in circense, let's give him fun times because things are not great in Venezuela at the moment. He said, yeah, let's have Christmas early. Then we're going to have a day off in October 1st. It's going to be Christmas. Enjoy. On the other hand, because obviously it's not Christmas without a few scary stories, there was this Christmas in October coincided with Operation Tuntun, which is a little bit dystopian. So this was a Operation Tuntun. Tuntun is a sort of refers to knocking on the door, so knocking Tuntun, but also the noise that vans make when you close the boot. This is because this came superposed with a video of the Carol the Bells.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is quite a creepy carol anyway. But it's been translated into Spanish, talking about how Krampus, the Christmas demon, is going to knock on your door, make sure you're behaving nice, otherwise it's going to take you away. Translated into Venezuelan policy is the police will knock on your door, see if you're a spy, see if you're, following the rules of the government, and if not, taken away into the van. Operation Tuntun.
Operation Tuntun, which is like basically, yeah, you said it's this. It sounds a little bit like parents are telling their kids, be nice, otherwise Santa Claus will not come to bring you presents. It's the same, but for adults and quite rough.
Yeah, instead of not giving you presents, it'll just put you in. I don't know what kind of camps they've got there, but I don't think it'll be nice.
Yeah, I mean, like for everyone who doesn't have a context. So basically, we had the elections in Venezuela not long time ago in Caracas, and basically what happened is Maduro, who is the leader there for last 11 years, he lost to Enduro Gonzalez. Basically, you have two governments in Venezuela. One government is the government inherited by Maduro from Hugo Chavez, who was ruling Venezuela for many years. He's often associated with absolutely god features because he was ruling in the very lucky for him time, because from perspective of time he wasn't very good ruler, but he was doing this at the time when the price of the barrel of diesel was absolutely skyrocketing. So Venezuela, who has the biggest resources of diesel in the world, was just booming. And then so right now Maduro inherited that 11 years ago, and as soon as he did, Venezuela, because of the price of the barrel dropped significantly, Venezuela went into a deep crisis, and we were talking deep crisis with hyperinflation, electricity being cut off on a regular basis, people starving, and like that, Venezuela, from being the fourth wealthiest country on a planet, became the country of a third world within few years. We're talking like in few years, okay? They always had a problem with, the villages being significantly poorer than the big cities, but basically what happened was they tried to win another elections, because the first elections Maduro won rightfully. But then the next elections, when he didn't win, he decided, you know what, I won anyway. So now we have two governments of him being supported by China, Russia, and all countries of this bloc, supporting him militarily for, in return that he is giving them free diesel. And then you have another government which is supported by all, we can call it Western world. So right now they're bringing Christmas to the 1st October to kind of hide the fact that they lost the elections again, because people were mad. And they know, and people in Venezuela know, that if you're working in the public sector, during Christmas time you're getting free food packages. And right now food there is on the, it's more precious than gold. So he's like, oh, we're gonna bring the Christmas because it's so great after these elections that we already feel the festive, atmosphere. So this is a bit of a it's bittersweet story.
No. But it's great to have Christmas in October, though. Like, I mean, I would argue that maybe we should have food packages a few more days a year. But listen, if it means we get to have Christmas, Christmas is my birthday as well, so I'll have Christmas early.
This is absolutely perfect. It's a shame that he didn't know that.
I know. Like, I mean, I should make a few phone calls.
Okay. Well, so now we're moving to another story, which is a bit more of a cultural one.
Yes, a bit more cultural topic, but politics is in every sphere, so we can talk about this as well, and it's the topic of the Nobel Prizes.
Yeah, so the Nobel Prizes, and just to be clear, not all the Nobel Prizes are already known. Some of them going to be revealed this week. But we have few. We have for the chemistry, we have for the physics, and we have something, and that's the only Nobel Prize which we're going to discuss today. And this is a Nobel Prize of the peace of 2024. And it has been granted to Nihon Hidanyako, something like that.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but it's basically, and allow me to quote it. It's for his effort to achieve a world free of nuclear weapons and for demonstrating through witness testimony that nuclear weapons must never be used again. So he's basically, what they did is that they created an organization which was bringing attention to people who survived dropping an atomic bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. It was 600,000 people who survived it, and I believe over 200,000 who died on these 2 days. And they were collecting work because it was wide spectrum, right? It was the artwork, but it was also the articles and the testimonials and the life stories of people who actually went through those events and successfully survived it. And I think it's quite in the current world when we are, a lot of people are saying that we are as close to the nuclear war as we were during the Cold War. I think it's a very well deserved prize. And it's also, I like it as well, that it's obviously against the Western world a little bit, because obviously US has been responsible for dropping that bomb. And it's still been priced, which is kind of cheering me up a little bit, because normally I would say, okay, I would expect certain a filter on these kind of topics. What do you think?
No, it's interesting also because it comes in the context of obviously all the wars that have been happening throughout the world, wars that include countries that do have nuclear weapons. In particular, Russia, who at the beginning of the Ukraine war had no problem of using the N-word, nuclear, which also meant that also another part of context is the doomsday clock, which is this imaginary clock that was invented in the 40s, 50s, that says how long we have until doomsday, the apocalypse. Originally used for nuclear weapons, and at the moment the clock is set to 90 seconds to midnight, which means that we don't have long if we don't basically reel it in, especially with nuclear weapons.
Right, it's super interesting, and I want to say I want to also recommend to everyone to actually go on the website and check all the prizes, because I never done it before. I mean, I know some of the Nobel Prizes which has been granted in past years, but I never really read into it that much in detail. And I just say that even on the topics which are not maybe necessarily of area of interest, those are the best people ever, and definitely in this passing year, who submitted different kinds of work, and it's super interesting.
No, it really is. It really is. The Nobel Prize is always an interesting, and it gives you a bit of an insight into what's happening in the world and how academia is going at the moment. Okay, so should we move on to the last topic?
Let's move to the last topic. It's not my it's not my favorite topic, but it's a topic. Do you want to maybe maybe lead on it?
Sure. So as Blaze described it to me in private, a guy in Scotland died.
Well, because for me it's a guy in Scotland, and it's not because I'm ignorant. It's because he is a guy in Scotland. God damn.
So the guy in question is Alex Salmond, who is a bastion of British and Scottish politics. He is basically the biggest campaigner for referendum for the Scottish independence that basically this country has ever seen. He was elected in '87 as an MP under the Scottish National Party, and he managed to bring that party from a sort of a fringe party into like front and center of politics. In the 10 years he was MP, for 10 years he was an MP in the House of Commons, and in '97 he managed to negotiate devolution in Scotland, therefore creating a Scottish Parliament in Holyrood, so a separate entity from the House of Commons in London, and he was the first Minister of Scotland as a SNP. Basically managed to get devolution. The Parliament in Scotland didn't happen since, William Wallace, freedom.
The Braveheart guy.
The Braveheart guy.
Mel Gibson.
So it was a wow. Since then, he After 97, his second fight was to get a referendum for Scottish independence, which he managed to get in 2014 under David Cameron. And even just that he managed to make that happen is very impressive. Because, okay, it happened in 2014, but he's been fighting it for a long time, and no one is allowing this referendum to happen again for a while. Labour, Tories, none of them want another referendum because they said, well, you had one already. It didn't go through. Deal with it. So in 2014, he lost the referendum. Scotland is still a country in the UK. And so he resigned as First Minister and gave his seat to Nicola Sturgeon, who was basically his partner in crime. This is when he becomes a little bit controversial, because in 2021 it emerged that he had several sexual allegations thrown against him. There were rumors that maybe even from Nicola Sturgeon, but never confirmed. But surely a rupture between these two bastions of Scottish politics happened. So much so that he, in 2021, even formed the Alba Party, so another party focused on independence, basically opposite the SNP, which some argue that in the election we had in 24, the Alba Party sort of split the vote with the SNP, and that's why the SNP had quite a significant defeat. Now, he died on Friday or Saturday, in North Macedonia whilst giving a speech. He basically collapsed mid-speech. But one of his last words that he gave is, "Scotland is not a county, it's a country."
I mean, like that's a big statement, and a real statement, but it's quite memorable words.
Yeah,
I think you proved that I shouldn't be calling him just
a guy in Scotland.
A guy in Scotland. Well, okay, so paying all the respect to the nobleman who's not with us anymore.
Yeah.
And okay, so I think we're gonna wrap it up right now, aren't we?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
And what? I think we are inviting everyone for the BJ at brunch. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna see you guys. We're gonna see you guys on next Monday at DJ at lunch to, supply you with the tastiest bits and bobs.
Yes.
Thanks, James.
Well, thank you, Blaze, and thank you, everyone. Yeah, well, I will see you at Deep BJ at brunch.
All right, bye.
Bye.